Hello everyone, welcome to Ajiro Tech. Ajiro Tech. In this video, we're going to be looking at the Cambridge IGCSE Information and Communication Technology Paper 1 Theory, May-June 2024 with the course code 0417. And we're looking at the second variant of Paper 1, which is 12. And when it comes to Ajiro Tech, I want to say, I'm not sure, you can tell me in the comment section, but when it comes to paper one, I think Ajiro Tech does a fantastic job. I've looked across all YouTube channels, and I can tell you, Ajiro Tech is the only YouTube channel that explains in details when it comes to information and communication technology paper one theory. So you're really in a safe haven right now. So I will begin with getting my blue pen and putting my candidate name as a good student. Okay. And if you have not subscribed to Ajiro Tech, what are you waiting for? So I'm going to do this 017. Okay, so put this here. And my candidate number is going to be 2024. Okay. Instructions are very important. Use the black or dark blue pen. So you can see that in my other videos, I'm using a black pen. Now I'm using a blue pen. Okay. Question 1. Circle 2 items of internal memory. Circle 2 items of internal memory. That's question 1. Now, you will see this internal memory. You see this in chapter 1. Okay, as it has been my culture, I'll tell you the chapter. You see this, and this is chapter 1, types and components of computer systems. You see this right here, the very first chapter of this textbook, right? You see that right here in the very first chapter of the textbook, okay, of computer systems. And now you see it right here under the internal memory. You're going to see it right here under the hardware and software component, right? So under the internal memory, we have two types, right? So we have the random access memory and we have the read-only memory. Okay, so very important. This is volatile and this is non-volatile. Okay, so very important. All right, you can see here. Probably I will just show you so you can see it yourself. You see right here, after we talk about, I can use this to just quickly show you so you see it here, because I want to show you where you can find all this right here. No? Good, right here, right? So you can see that the random access memory and the read-only memory. Again, for the random access memory, they are temporarily stored, and for the read-only memory, they are permanently stored. Okay. Question 2. Complete each of the following sentences which relates to health and safety issues. Which relate to health and safety issues. Okay. When using ICT equipment. And you see this in chapter 5. Okay. The effects of using IT. Okay. And then particularly in this question is the prolonged use of using IT equipment. That's where you see it. Okay. So that relates to health and safety. So you see this in chapter 5, and also you're also going to see this in chapter 8. So there are two chapters here. Chapter 8 under safety and security. Safety and security. Now, under safety and security here, you are looking at what? Physical safety. And under the effects of using IT, you are looking at the prolonged use of IT equipment. Yeah. Okay, so this is very important that you know where you get this from. Trailing wires, trailing leads in a computer room can cause what? Okay, so we call this a tripping hazard. A tripping hazard. Okay, now the next one, the continual typing on a keyboard can cause what we call a repetitive strain what? Injury. What we call, right, the RSI. So this is chapter 8. Let me just do this. This is, you see this in, this is chapter 8. This is chapter 5. Staring at a computer screen for a long period of time can cause what we call an eye strain. And this right here is chapter 5. Spilling computer onto a computer equipment can cause what we call electrocution. And this right here is chapter 8. Okay, so this is very, very important. Now, let me show you from the textbook real quick. Let me show you from the textbook. I'll probably have to just duplicate this. So now I'll go back here a bit, and I'll use this to open chapter 5 and the other one to open chapter 8. This is the beauty of Ajiro Tech, because you get to just learn. Okay, so right here you see it here, the prolonged use of IT equipment, which is of course relating to health problems. Now you see what we are talking about. Okay, so damage to finger, which is the continual use right here, the continual use of a keyboard or the repetitive clicking of a mouse. And why for your eye strain, right here, you see that it is caused by staring at a computer screen for too long. Then here, okay, so let's look at this for chapter 8. For chapter 8, safety and security, physical safety, you see this right here. So you can see execution, which is spilling liquid or drinks on electric equipment. And you see this here, the tripping hazard, which is what? Trailing wires on the floor. So you can see where the question is coming from. Good. That's the beauty of Ajiro Tech. Question 3. Remote login. Logging into a computer system requires two-factor authentication. Explain what is meant by two-factor authentication. Now, you see this, right? There's some, you see something like this also in, mainly you see it in chapter 8. Okay, but chapter 4, you also see something like this, right? So I'm just going to go with this in chapter 8. Chapter 8, safety and security. And you will see this here under what? Security of data. Security of data. Okay, we are talking about protect data, right? So this is the category of what? Protect what? Data. How can you protect your data? So you can protect your data using what? Two-factor authentication. So I'm giving you the breakdown of how these questions were generated. That's the beauty of Ajiro Tech. Breakdown. There's no time, right? Because I want you to understand it as simple as what? ABC. Now we'll talk about two-factor authentication. The first thing you need to understand, right, is what? It is a security method. Okay? And one important thing here is it adds, from the word two, it adds another layer of what? Security. Okay? So I'll give you a good example, right? So an example could be your password, which is one method of authentication, and then you have your OTP, which is what? Another method. So this is a one-time password. So once you put in your password, it's going to send a code to what? That device or to your email, so that you can be able to put in what? The passcode to ensure, because the whole idea of authentication is to verify the identity of what? That user. Do you understand what I'm saying? Let me open it so you can see. You can actually see what I'm talking about, because most of you like, Mr. Joe, just show us from the textbook. I will do that. All right. And that's why you're here. So you can actually circle these parts in your textbook. So protection of data, you see it right here, right? When we are protecting our data. Come in. Yes, look at it. Two-factor authentication. So it is the ability of the user to prove who they are. And there are three common factors we use. Something you know, like I said, a password, or it could be a PIN code. Something you have, which is your mobile phone that they can send the OTP to. Something which is unique to you could be what? A biometric. So it's a form of verification that requires two methods of what? Authentication to verify who the user is. So it is a security method. Do you understand? It's a security method, right? So it is a form of security to protect, right? So it is used when user can make a purchase. So it's just to improve security. Okay, so that is what it is. That requires two methods to verify who the user is. Okay, so two-factor authentication what requires what? Two methods. Two methods requires two methods to prove who the user is. Okay, who a user, let's use the right word, who a user is. Okay, so another one, like I said, it is, this could be what? Others. I've given 2 points already. So others, so it is a security what? Method. Okay, it is a security method. And then it is a form of security, like I said, form of security, okay, to protect the resources, okay, resources that a user can what? Access. So this is very important. Spelling access is always very tricky. So let me ensure it is written well. Good. All right. Let's look at the B part. State two methods, state two examples of methods that could be used as part of two-factor authentication. Let's look at this. That can be used, right? So here you can see that we can use what we call something you know. So it can be your security token. In this case, it can be your biometrics. It can be your username and password. Okay. It can be your phone number. It could be an email address. Okay. I talked about the fact that it's OTP, where you can receive a code that you need to enter by email or by SMS. Okay, it can also be a form of security token. Okay, so all these are examples. Okay, so when you go through this, this is why it's very important. So all this, they have given you an example here. You see a password, mobile phone. So all this, so we'll talk about, when we talk about the examples here that can be used as part of a two-factor, is the first one that comes to mind is your username and password. Okay, so this is very important. So here for the first example, we have username and password. Username and password. Okay, so the next, another example is biometrics. Okay, biometrics. So we can put others here, okay, for citation purposes, where we have receive, okay, or it could be you are sending a code, okay, you have to enter, and this could be by email, it could be by SMS, and we'll see this as what? OTP. Okay, so the next one could be phone number. Okay, and it could be or your email address. The next one can be your security token, and I do security token a lot. And a good example is your Google Authenticator. We have the Apple Authenticator as well. So you have the idea. Okay. Question 4. Vehicles can obtain microprocessor controlled devices to improve transport safety. For example, when a vehicle approaches a road speed sign, the microprocessor sends an alert to the driver. Discuss the positive and negative effects of using microprocessor control devices in transport safety. Now, you are going to see this in chapter 5. Okay, chapter 5, the effects of using what? IT. Now, you're going to see this here. Let me show you right here. Look at it. Autonomous vehicles in transport. Okay, so we can see microprocessors, monitoring and controlling transport, the use of microprocessor in transport systems, both in traffic and both in automatic number plate recognition, etc., etc. So here you can see that we have the advantages and disadvantages, okay, as much as possible. So here they're asking us for, using microprocessor control devices in controlling transport. Okay, so this would suffice. Yes, right here. So this is very important because we have what we call a smart motorway. Okay, now let's talk about the positive. Now there are various ways to do this. So how many marks is this? 6 marks, right? And please take note, the highest mark you have in paper 1 is 6 marks, right? So I will start with positive, 6 marks. So 3, 3, 4, 2. So let me start with positive. I always begin with positive. Okay, so can avoid what? Accident. That's the first one. Because when we use the microprocessor, right, in control devices in transport, the whole idea is use of the smart motorway. And I will show you here. Look at this right here. So when we talk about the smart motorway, right, this is the monitoring and controlling of traffic, right, and also the information that are displayed on the motorway sign. So the whole idea is we are using it to control what? Traffic, right, to ensure that the vehicles are moving at a smooth order. Okay, and if there's any form of accident or there's considerable traffic congestion, the smart motorway can then control the traffic to keep it redirected to avoid what accidents. So that's where our first point is coming from. What it can avoid what accident, can avoid accident. Okay, then another one is the whole idea of keeping people who are walking. So there will be time where vehicles can pass, right? There will be time where vehicles can pass. There will be time where pedestrians can also pass, right? So this helps to ensure that even the pedestrians and people who are walking on the road are what safe, right? So it can keep people walking on the road safe. Another one is, okay, it allows the driver to concentrate on what? On the driving. That's very, very important, because when we look at in transport safety, drivers are able, because of this smart motorway and everything in place, it can be able to ensure that drivers can be able to want to concentrate in driving, and it helps to prevent any form of human error. So imagine if it was the police forces on the road telling you stop, go. You're proud to have human errors. But with the smart motorway, you're not going to have that, because everything is properly what regulated. When the traffic is small, that's when you have more vehicles going, and there's a way it regulates everything. And this is very, very important. So it helps to what? Remove or prevent. So it helps to prevent human error. Okay? It helps to prevent human errors. And invariably, this makes travel can become safe. All right. So now let's look at negative. We've talked a lot about the positive. Let's not forget we have a negative to talk about. So let's talk about negative. Okay. Now, the first one we need to talk about is those alerts could actually distract the drivers. That's a negative, because most time, look at this right here. They said, okay, if it, and now, yes, or the information displayed. So you can see that information displayed, all the information displayed can actually, okay, distract the drivers. So those things can become negative. Why allow people to be able to concentrate on their driving? In one way, if you're not very cautious, it can actually distract the driver. So we have to actually put that into places, especially error messages. So error messages, okay, could distract the drivers. Okay, now I don't need to tell you, but right here you will see that it is very costly. Okay, it is very costly to maintain. Okay, yes, it helps to minimize human errors, but it is very costly to maintain. Okay, especially if a system is poorly designed, which could compromise what? Safety. Okay, and of course the whole idea that hackers can be able to gain access um, to all this is another thing. Okay, so you need to look at that as well. Okay, so these vehicles, they contain those microcontrol devices. So when it's time to go, it helps those vehicles, they are more or less autonomous. Okay, they are more or less what? Autonomous. Right here. When it's time to change gear, look at it right here. So safer because human error is removed, leading fewer accidents, and also you can see it can help to reduce what? Traffic what? Congestion. It helps the drivers to be able to what? Concentrate. And now you can see that it is very expensive system to set up, right? It is very expensive to set up. Very expensive system to set up. Very expensive. Very expensive system to what? To set up. Okay. And again, we talked about that the ever-present fear of hacking into what? The vehicle control system is always going to be a factor. Because now these are vehicles that contain micro control processor. Yeah, the microprocessor control devices. So hackers can actually gain into your vehicles, and before you know it, what happens? You see yourself driving to another route. You're like, what's happening? I've lost control of the steering wheel. So there's ever-present fear of hacking into what? Into your vehicle. So I'll add this as others. Okay, others. So I'll just put this, the ever present fear of hacking, okay, into the vehicle's control system. Okay, so this is also very important. Now there's one here. Of course, it is very expensive system to maintain, and it's also very, if it's very expensive to set up, it should also know that it's also very expensive to maintain, right? Maintaining such vehicles is not easy, and they are very expensive to buy. Okay, so it's very expensive to maintain, very expensive to set up, and to maintain. Okay, so this is very, very important. Okay, very important, because once these devices are embedded into these vehicles, while we have some positive here, there are also some negative. Okay, all right. If we add this, now they said, okay, they said security and safety issues or software glitches could be catastrophic. Okay, now imagine if the device, okay, there's always going to be, anyway, there's always going to be that um, reluctance of this new technology. But imagine if these devices stop working. Okay, imagine the injuries it's going to cause. Okay, so this is why it is very important, especially if there is a software update, would need to be carefully controlled to avoid any potential disaster. So if there's going to be any form of software glitch, it could be catastrophic. So this is very, very important. Okay, all right. Question 5. One difference between a command line interface and graphical user interface is that it takes up what? Is that GUI takes up more memory. That's true. State two other differences between CLI and the GUI. Now, again, you see this this is going to be chapter 1, okay, which is types and components. Okay, of computer what? System. Okay, computer systems. So now let's talk about the difference. Now you see this as what? User interfaces, right? Under this chapter 1, you see them on what? User what? Interface. Okay, user interface. So the first one is that the difference, right, between them is that for the CLI, the user, okay, the user has to what? Type in what? Commands. Okay, has to type in what? Commands. Now, why? Let me open it to show you. So you can see it here. Okay, so let's look at it right here. Yes, good. In fact, they haven't talked about the differences here. Good. So here you see that the user, okay, so the user need to learn number of commands, right? And which is the summary of it. And again, for the GUI, it is user friendly right here. You see here, it is user friendly. So icons are used to represent what? Applications. Okay, user has to type in commands. Okay, why? Okay, GUI is more user friendly. It's more user friendly. Okay, user friendly. And why is it user friendly? It's user friendly because icons are used to present applications. Icons are used to represent what? Applications. Okay, so hope we are learning. Now let's look at another one. Okay, another one is the fact that why the user has to type in the commands. Let me go here so you can see it. Is that here you see that, so let me just use this so you can just, that will make it better. So you have to type in commands to choose option from. The user has to learn a number of what? Commands, just to carry out what? Basic operations. So you can see that in CLI, okay, the user, okay, the user has to learn, has to what? Learn a number of commands, a number of commands to carry out what? Operations. Why in GUI, okay, so let's look at for GUI. Now for GUI, why for GUI? What else? Now you are able to interact with the user with the use of icons, like I've talked about, user friendly. And again, it makes use of what we call a WIMP, right? So it makes of a technology called what? WIMP, right? So it is a WIMP system, right? In GUI, it is a WIMP. Okay, and you have to write this in full. Very important. So this is Windows. Okay, Windows icons, menu, okay, and pointing device. Okay, pointing device. Okay, system. Okay, so this is very important. State two other types of user interfaces. Now we have them here, right? So I'll just let you see for yourself. So we've talked about the command line interface, graphical user interface. So the other two is the dialogue based, okay, and the gesture based. Okay, so I have the dialogue. There's a dash here, dialogue based. Okay, and this one is the gesture based. Okay, the dialogue based use the voice to communicate with the computer, while the gesture based makes use of your hand without any form of mechanical devices. Okay, your body movement. Explain what is meant by electronic conferencing. Now, you will see this in chapter 4. Okay, you see this in chapter 4. Networks and the effects of using them. Okay, so you see this here in chapter 4. Okay, where's it? Okay, chapter 4. Come in. Yes, right here. Networks and the effects of using them. Okay, networks and the effects of what? Using them. That's why you see this. And we have this as very important. Now, look at this. The effects, rather, sorry. The effects, right, of using them. Now, look at this. Now, when we talk about electronic conferencing, right, we have 3 of them, right? We have 3 of them. We have the audio conferencing, we have the video conferencing, and we have the web conferencing. Now, look at this. Right here. Okay, good. You see it right here. This is why it's important to read the textbook. And yes, I have read the textbook. As a teacher, I have to be the first person to read the textbook. You see right here. Look at it. Electronic conferencing. So now they're asking you, what is electronic conferencing? So with your idea of video conferencing, audio conferencing, and web conferencing, what do you think it means? Okay. So the first thing is that, what do they use the video conferencing, the audio conferencing, and the web conferencing to do? To communicate. Okay. So yes, to communicate. So we can say that, one, this is a communication system. And we use it to also have our classes. Okay, also use this to have our classes. And this is why the master class is so important. Yes, the master class. Okay, I'm going to write it here. The master class. Yes, so for those who have not enrolled into the Ajiro Tech tutoring service, I don't know what to tell you. Like, you're literally missing a lot. It's not just on ICT, but on every other subject. Trust me, not just for IGCSE alone, but also for the A level. So if you've not done that, if you've not enrolled into the masterclass, you actually miss it. And if you have not subscribed to this YouTube channel, I am using this pen that I'm writing on this board to tell you to, your first assignment right now is to hit on the subscribe button. Like, hit on the subscribe button. Like, hit on the subscribe button and then subscribe to this YouTube channel. Like, now. Just do it now, right? Yes, pause from this and just go and subscribe, and then you come back and you learn. Okay, have you done that? Okay, now you're a good student now. Okay, let's continue with our learning proper. Okay. All right, so let's continue with it. So it is a communication system, and it is a form of structured discussion. And this is a system that I have with my online student. We're talking about the master class, right? And these are various ways we use in having our classes, especially the web conferencing, where students they join in with their computers and we use various applications to actually join in, which I don't want to talk about here because all these applications are paid applications and it goes within the structure of Cambridge to talk about them. Okay, so this is very, very important, and that is why it is a structure kind of discussion that you have between two or more people. Okay, between me and my student, and we're having a good time. So it is a structured discussion. Okay, discussion between two or what more people. Okay, and also take note, right? It is worth noting that maybe you can put this for others. This kind of discussion is carried out, okay, virtually. Okay, we'll talk about virtually. We're talking about over the internet. You can put virtually or over what the internet. Okay, which involves, now we cannot mention them. Okay, so let's talk about them. Okay, so which involves or includes, okay, video, web, and what, audio. Okay, so hope you're getting this. Okay, all right, the B part: state giving reasons of your choice the hardware required to set up an electronic conferencing. Now, there are so many of them that can be used to set up. Now, you can see that for video conferencing, these are the basic hardwares you need: webcam, large monitor, microphone, speakers. For the web conferencing, you probably need just your computer, right, your laptop, okay, to actually set up. For the audio, you need your phone, okay. You probably need, it can also be electronic as well, where since it's an audio means, your phone to be able to join, or even your laptop. Okay, so let's talk about all those things that would need to set this thing up. Okay, how many marks is this? So this is 4 marks. Okay, so let's start with I'm going to start with the very basic thing we need, which is what? The hardware needed to set up. If you want to set up now, and I want this to be very practical with you, if you want to have a master class with me, right? Now, I sent you the link. Now, for you to be able to receive the link, for you to be able to click the link, what's the first thing you need, right? You need a form of something in your house, right? And then we're talking about those network devices. And one of them that you need in your house is your router. Okay, yes, your router. You need what? Your router. Okay, and let's say state, comma, that's the first one, give you reasons for your choice. So I want to give the reason for my choice. Now the reason for my choice here is state 1, give you reasons, another mark, right? To connect. Okay, to connect, what? To the what? Internet. That's the first one, to connect to the internet. The next one that I will talk about is your computer, right? Computer or your smartphone. Okay, and this is what? To connect, okay, the peripherals Okay, to connect the peripherals used in the conference. So in this case, you can maybe connect your mic and all those peripherals to your to that. Okay. Another one is your speaker. Okay, most people like to use an headset. So let's talk about that. Your speaker. If you're not using a speaker, you're probably using a headset. That's your headphones. Okay. So the participant, okay, participants can what? Can listen to others and even to the speaker in the what? Conference. Okay, so we've talked about 1, 2, 3. So we've talked about more than enough. So you just need 1, 2, 1, 2, and that's all, right? So one mark for each of them. So this one falls under what we call others. Okay, and also microphone. Okay, you can also use a microphone. Now, for if you're using a computer, you have an embedded microphone already. Okay, so the whole idea for the microphone is to capture what? The audio of what? The participants. Okay, or what? The conference, whichever one. Okay, so this is very, very important. Of course, monitor, right? Again, like I said, for video, we might have to look at it. For web also, if you want to use them separate, it's fine, but the computer also captures it. So if you're talking about your monitor, you're probably talking about you want to view the slides as much as possible. So if you're talking about monitor, okay, if you're talking about monitor, so what it does here is to view, okay, the participants, okay, contents. Okay, so you can view the participants, you can view the contents. Okay, those contents could be slides as much as possible. All right, so let's move ahead. Question 7. A college principal has decided that the student can use mobile phones, okay, to take notes in lessons. Some students use laptop computers while others use smartphones. Discuss the benefit and drawbacks of using laptop computers rather than smartphones for this purpose. So now again, this is chapter 1. Okay, chapter 1, types and components, okay, of what? Computer what? Systems. And under this, you see it as what? Types of what? Computer. Now, under types of computer, we have two. We have the desktop computer and we have the mobile computer. Now, your laptop, your smartphone, your tablet, they fall under the mobile computers. Okay, so let's talk about this. The advantages and drawbacks of using what? Laptops. And you see this here, right here in the textbook. And this is why I opened the textbook. So you can actually look this with me. Okay, right, we're here already. Okay, so you can see desktop computer and then mobile computers. Okay, so now in the textbook, we talk about the fact that we have the advantages of using laptop over desktop, but it's still an idea. When you look at this, your smartphones, okay, it's still the same thing. You can just use an idea to look at for it. Okay, so here you're having For when you look at the laptop and then look at the smartphone, you see that the laptop has what we call a large screen. Okay, unlike your smartphone. Okay, so I'm going to look at the benefit. So benefit, and how many marks is this? 4 marks. Okay, so I'll look at the benefit. I'll look at the benefits. Okay, benefits. So the first one is that, yes, now our focus is laptop. Okay, so it has a large screen, making it easier to what? To read the notes. Okay, and again, remember, if you're using your laptop, your gadgets to take notes in class, in your lessons, which devices are, which softwares are more compatible between your smartphones and your laptop? Okay, right? Between your laptop and your smartphone. Yes, we have all those things. Although now we're talking about the smartphone. Okay, we're not talking about phablet. Please take note of this. Now I want to explain the difference between a smartphone and a phablet. Now this is a smartphone, right? So they are normal. They can be used to make normal phone calls. Okay, they also have the operating systems and allowing them to run a number of what applications, making and receiving calls. Right now, the difference between a smartphone and a phablet is right here. I think I'll show you right here. Now, the phablet is a hybrid. You have it here. Is a hybrid between a tablet and a smartphone. So most devices are phablets. Okay, and this is the difference between them. You can see a smartphone here because I know most people like, but say, you're right. This is a smartphone. You can see how small it is. This is the phablet. This is a tablet. The difference is the sizes. So now you can now have an idea of what we are talking about. Okay, so imagine you're using this very small thing to take notes. It's not going to be easy for you. Okay, and for laptops, right, the software used is more compatible. The software used is more what? Compatible with what? With other what? Devices. Okay. Now we don't really let's even talk about the most important ones. Like you can actually see. Let's talk about this. Where is my laptop? Let's get this. Now you can see that for laptop or your notebooks, it has more ports that we can easily use to transfer. Okay, so there are more ports. More ports. This is 4 marks. Hey. More ports. Okay. On a laptop. Okay. More ports in laptop, which makes transfer of data easy. Okay. Now another one is the fact that probably you can add that one if you want, is the fact that it has a keyboard, right, which makes data entry less error in data entry. Okay, it actually has a keyboard. Okay, it has a separate keyboard, unlike your smartphone that has an on-screen keyboard. So you need to take note of that, right? It has a separate keyboard which makes data entry less errors for data entry, right? Unlike your smartphone that has on-screen keyboard. So it makes it easy to type in data. Okay, so it makes it easy to type in data. So I'll just put this as others because I need to talk about the I need to, now these 4 marks. So that's 3 Now I'm doing 3 here, 3 benefits, 1 drawback, or 2 benefits and 2 drawbacks. Okay, so for others here is the fact that it has what? A separate keyboard, okay, which makes it easy to type in data. Drawbacks, okay, so I'm just having 1 drawback. I'm just going to put this because I'll talk about more. Okay, now the obvious one between laptop and smartphone, which is less portable? Between laptop and smartphone, obviously laptop is less portable. Look at it now. I think I showed you a screenshot of them. You can see that the smartphone is smaller than your laptop, so it's easier for students to be able to be with their smartphone than their laptop. Okay, so laptops are less portable. Are what? Less portable. For others, you can also see that now between your laptop and smartphone, which is easier to take pictures. Now the teacher can be teaching, right, and you can just try to bring your smartphone and you just take pictures of what he's teaching, take a picture of the slides, right? But you can't actually do that with a laptop. You can, but it's not really easy. Come on, you know what I'm talking about, right? It's not really easy to actually do that, so it's more difficult. So let's use that word, more difficult, more difficult to what? Take pictures. More difficult to take pictures using a laptop. Okay, okay, so that's very important. And another thing is the fact that smartphones can make use of 4G, 5G, or mobile data. Laptop cannot use that. Okay, so smartphones can use what? 4G, 5G, and even mobile data. All right, there are safety issues related to bringing laptop into the college. The network manager has decided to produce a paper-based certificate for students to prove that their laptop is safe to use. Describe the main features that should be considered for this design of this certificate. Now, safety issues bringing laptop into the college. So the network manager decided to produce a paper-based certificate for students to prove that their laptop is safe to use. Now, this is taking us to more or less the system life cycle, and I will explain that because in the system life cycle we have the design phase, and in design phase we have various ways in which we can make our input, our data capture, how we can do our data capture, which can be paper based or electronic based. When we want to do our report layout, when we want to carry out our output format or report layout. Okay, so here let's look at describing the main features that we considered for this design. So what are those things when we are producing a paper-based certificate to prove that their laptop is safe to use? So I will just go with chapter 7, right? System life cycle. System life cycle, and our focus is going to be what? The design phase, right? Again, I'm not ruling out document production for this, okay, for us to use. We can actually use document production for this, which is chapter 17 for document production, okay, for us to be able to use that. I'm not ruling that out, okay, so both of them can just go together, because if we read the design phase for as per the output format, document production, you should just know how to wing your way around it. Okay, so here is format. So let's talk about, so what are those things, right? You look at the font style. When you are designing a paper-based certificate, you look at the font style. Okay, font style should be easy to read. Okay, and again, make good use of white space, right? So make use of the white space. Okay, so data fills the certificate. Okay, okay, you can also make good use of colors. Use of colors. Okay, to make it easy to read. And all information then needs to be clearly visible. All information needs to be clearly visible. Okay, you can also use tick boxes. This is for others if you want to add this. Use of tick boxes. Okay, tick boxes. Okay, to make data entry quicker. Okay, to make data entry what? Quicker. All right, now let me show you what I'm talking about. You can see this, like I said. Okay, let me use this so you see, you have an idea of what I'm talking about in the design phase. Okay, under the output format. Okay, good. So you see something like this. Look at it. Text box to make data capture clearer, radio buttons, and so you have an idea of tick boxes. Okay, so yes, let's move on. Question 8. Explain the difference between virtual reality and augmented reality. Now you see this in chapter 1. Chapter 1, types and components, okay, of computer systems. Okay, and then you see it under this, you see it as what? Artificial intelligence. And here you see it what we call what? Extended realities. We call them what? The extended what? Realities. Okay, so under the extended reality, we have virtual reality, augmented reality, and mixed reality. Okay, so let's talk about the differences between the virtual reality and the augmented reality. Now, for the virtual reality, which is the VR, okay, VR is completely, okay, computer generated. They are computer generated what? Word. So it takes into a world of what? Fantasy. Right? It takes into a world of fantasy. It takes into a digitized world. It is, we call them unreal engines. They are not real. I'll use what we call the VR headsets. Okay, which gives us a kind of 360-degree angle, okay, of these things. Okay. Okay, so it's completely computer generated. And why AR combines, see, the AR combines both the virtual and what? Real world. So for the augmented, right, you can be in both the virtual and be in control of the real world. Okay, so very, very important. Also, for the virtual reality, okay, requires a headset or goggles. Okay, why the AR, right, can be accessed, right, with a smartphone. Okay, so if you want to add others, you can say that the VR only enhances a fictional reality, while AR creates a new layer on top existing, right, reality. Very important. Okay, and you see this here, right here, extended realities under the immense of artificial intelligence, image of what? The impact of emerging technology. When you talk about the AI, artificial intelligence, you see extended reality here, and then you can see that. So you can see that for augmented, you experience what the relationship between digital and physical, which is the real world. Then for the virtual reality right here, it takes the user out into what? A virtual world. It takes you into what? A virtual world. It is unreal. And this allows the use of what? Your VR headset or a mounted display which allows a 360-degree view of the virtual world. Discuss the impact of augmented reality on everyday life. So the impact, look at it right here. You see it here. How many marks is this? 6 marks. Okay. So let's look at this. Look at it. Impact in all areas. Okay. So we have it right here, right? On everyday life. So the first one we can look at is in interactive gaming. It could allow people to have a better experience of the game. Okay. So using it in interactive gaming, right? So in interactive gaming, okay, could allow people to have a better experience, okay, of the game. Another one is here you can see that here you see it in safety and security operations, right? So it is possible, okay, to provide 3D image of the area where is a rescue mission is to take place, giving the team the opportunity to interact with the environment and try out what? Rescue operations. So that, right? So that is one way to look at it. Okay. So we can see that rescue and operations. So let's just use this. Um, so let me pick something from here. Okay. So it allows for rescue, safety and rescue operations. It allows for rescue and safety operations, okay, giving the team the opportunity to interact, giving people the opportunity to interact, okay, with the environment, with the environment, okay, and try rescue procedures, and try rescue procedures, okay. It can help people, it can help people connect, okay, with others, okay, to improve communication skills, communication skills, okay. Another one is the user can try on, the user can try on clothing, okay. So we use that for, right, shopping and retail, right. Use your smartphone to try out makeup, to see how it looks on you before buying, clothing, to see how the clothes looks on you, try out clothing electronically, so you can see what the clothes look like, okay, to see what the clothes looks like before buying, to see how it looks on you before buying. How many points have I given so far? I've given 4, 2 to go, okay. We can also use it for a walkthrough system to give greater experience for users. So we can use it to give a walkthrough to whatever project you're working on. You say, okay, this is how it's going to look like when it's here. This is how it's going to look like when it's here. So if we put it here, this is how it's going to look like. If we put it here, this is how it's going to look like. So it gives, it is used in walkthrough systems, used in walkthrough systems to give a greater experience for users, okay, for users. Another one is impact. So what we're talking about the impact, we're talking about discuss the impact. We're not talking about both positive, we're also talking about both negative. So you have to take note, right? I've not talked about the negative, okay. um okay, so let's talk about negative. So for negative, it can allow us to interact with various characters, okay, in real time, but sadly not necessary really the real life, okay. Yes, it could also, let me add this for others. Okay, it could damage, okay, social relationships. Could damage social relationships, okay, as it removes, okay, face to face interaction, okay, okay, as it removes what? Face to face interaction. Explain the following component of the expert system. Okay, so here is chapter 6, ICT applications. Okay, so we have the expert system. Now, the whole idea of the expert systems, these are systems that are designed with the knowledge of experts. Okay, so we have the user interface where people can be able to communicate with the system. We have the inference engine, explanatory system, the knowledge base with the rule base. So this is very important. So this is how the system is designed. This is the whole structure of your expert system. This is the whole structure of it, of the expert system. Okay. So here for the user interface, right, you could see that. Let's talk about it. So here, look at the even, you can check this here, that you see that, right, this is the method by which experts interact, right? So they said what? Explain the following of expert system. So I'm going to go with this method by which the expert system interact with the user. Method by which the expert system interact with a user. Okay, let's look at another one. It allows interaction through dialog boxes. It allows interaction through dialog boxes. Okay, command prompt. Okay, command prompt or other inputs, other input method. The questions being asked usually only have yes or no. The questions, the questions being asked usually, usually only have yes or no answers. Okay, okay, so that's fine. Okay, it is, and okay, I can put this in full, it's fine, and are based on previous responses. So here, based to previous responses. So here you can see that in this particular method, that here, why the expert system is interacting with the user, what happens once it gets the information from the user, then for the explanation system is going to, is the reason behind the expert system conclusions, yes. And what it does most especially is it is going to find, it is going to search, right? Let's say if you're getting a symptoms or whatever. Now this is what it does here. It would, this explanation system, right? This for the inference engine, which is more or less like the search engine, right? The inference engine is more or less like the search engine, which is the main processing element. For explanation system, we'll just explain the reason behind the conclusion of the inference engine. Why for the inference engine is going to search the knowledge base. It's going to search the knowledge base here to get the information using the rules, those protocols that have been set, okay, by the programmer. Okay, for example, if you're having headache, this is what you need to search for. Okay, so this is very, very important. And of course, your knowledge base, this is the power bank. This is the knowledge bank, right? This is where all the knowledge are being stored. Okay, so this is very important. And for the rules, these are a set of rules that are being what created. Okay, so this is very important. So knowledge base. So let's look at the knowledge base. It's what is a repository of fact. Okay, you see. Okay, it stores all the knowledge. It stores all the knowledge about an area of what expertise obtained from a number of expert resources. Obtained from a number of what expert resources. Okay, it is basically a collection of objects and their attributes. I will see that here. Those things they are collecting, collections of objects and their attributes. Collection of objects and attributes. Okay, you can also add this. It contains rule base. Yes, it contains what? The rule base. All right. Cars can now have sensors at the front and rear of the vehicles to detect obstacles. Okay. Describe how the sensor detects an obstacle and sends the data to the microprocessor when parking the car. Now, I want to explain this. You see this in chapter 5, right? Chapter 5, the effects of what? Using IT. And now you see this when we talk about autonomous vehicle. Now, I want to show you here autonomous vehicles. You see it here, chapter 5. Let me scroll down so I can show you where you find it in your textbook. Okay. You see right here. Good. Autonomous cars, buses, and vans. Now, I want to explain this for you. Now, autonomous cars can use sensors, cameras, and actuators. And this is why it is important as a student to read the textbooks. Teachers, you have to read the textbook. Because if you don't read the textbooks and you're only relying on past papers, you don't actually have enough content to be able to teach your students. Okay, so this is why it is very important, so that the students can be able to know where exactly those questions are found. It is very important. Okay, so if you're a teacher and you're listening to this, please, let's work together to ensure that we have enough content to teach the student to produce massive result. In the May June 2024 in Ajiro Tech, we had close to 98% success rate, right? For the students who were on board in Ajiro Tech tutoring service, yeah, the masterclass, right? Where we talked for ICT across other subjects. We had for ICT, we had like A star to B from all the informations I'd gathered as of the time of this recording. Okay, and this was basically because of paper one. Because again, for ICT we have paper two, right? For ICT we have paper two, we have paper three. Now for paper one, it is 40%. So even if they do well in the paper two and paper three, which is 60%, it will still not be enough for them to be able to have an A star and A, even a B. Okay, so it simply means that there is more work in paper one in ensuring that the learners are well grounded in paper one. So teachers, please, you have to read the textbook. Okay, student, you also have to read the textbook, and the Ajiro Tech is right here where you can actually have a study session with yourself. Okay, so cars can use sensors, okay, cameras, actuators, and the microprocessor. Now, I want to explain this. Now, for the sensor, they make use of what we call the radar and ultrasonic. And for the radar and ultrasonic, you see, this is more explained in the A level, right? And cameras will allow the computer system in cars to perform critical functions by sensing these dynamic conditions on the road. It will sense the so the whole idea is that these cameras, right, which is at the front and rear, they are acting as the eyes and ears of the car. Are you seeing this? And this is what we are talking about the sensor as the front and rear of the car. Now, the sensor here is what? Is the radar and sonic. Now, this is what happens, and I will explain this. Now, the microprocessor will now process the data. They said describe how the sensor detect an obstacle and send the data to the microprocessor when parking the car. Now, the microprocessor will now process data received from the camera and sensor, because both of them are working together, and send signal to the actuator. Now, the actuator is a mechanical device, right? So the whole idea of the actuator is when we are talking about for your sensor, talking about your greenhouses, your temperature and all the rest. What it does essentially for the actuator is more or less mechanical. It can go in a linear, it can go in a rotary as much as possible. In this case, it can open doors, it can close doors, just to give you an idea. Okay, so it sends it to the actuator to perform physical action, which is what the actuator does. In this case, to change the gear, to apply the brakes, to turn the steering wheels. And you understand? So it all depends on the information that has been received from the sensor and the information that has been received from the camera. So now they're asking the question here, right? They said describe how the sensor would detect an obstacle and send the data to the microprocessor when parking the car. So what happens is that data are sent back to the sensor. And who does that? Is the camera. Because remember that the camera is what is acting as the eyes and ears of the car. So when there's an obstacle, when there's an obstacle, it's going to make a sound. Because the camera is looking at, you're getting close to an obstacle, right? So here you see that data are sent back to the sensor Okay. And again, the sensor scans continually. It's always scanning continually. Continually. And again, the sensor captures, right, the reflected data. Okay. So what happens? The sensor captures analog what? Data. So whether it's reflected data or analog data, any of them, and the data from the sensor is sent by what? By the analog, by this hardware called the analog to digital converter. Okay, so here you have, let me give you a description of what I'm talking about. So here you have the sensor. Okay. Okay, so you have a sensor, you have the microprocessor. Okay. And then you have what? The actuator. But something happens from the sensor to this. I know you, I want to explain this. From the sensor to this, there's something here, there's something here. Something have to happen. So here we have the ADC, which is the analog to digital converter, and from here you have the DAC. Can you see that? Which is digital to analog converter. So this process is very important. Okay, this process is very, very important. That is why when the sensor detects an obstacle and sends that to the microprocessor when parking the car, what happens is that these data are sent back to the processor, right? These are sent to the sensor. You send it to the sensor. The sensor is going to sense it, right? It's going to scan, 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 and once it captures anything, right, it's going to send it to the microprocessor through the what? The ADC. Okay, and then sends it to the what? To the actuator. And in this case, what happens? The actuator will now perform what? The physical action by what? Parking what? The car. Will now park the car. Okay. Question 11. Question 11. A company with many branches is implementing a new system. The manager is planning to implement the new system either by pilot changeover or parallel running. Okay. Construct pilot changeover and parallel running. So let's construct both of them. Now you are going to see this in chapter 7. Okay, chapter 7, and you see this in what? The system life cycle. Okay, let me do this. Okay, let me move this here. Um, Okay, the systems life cycle. That's where we're going to see it. Chapter 7, the systems. Okay, life cycle. And now under the system life cycle, we're going to look at it here because we have different phases. Now under this phase, we have the analysis phase, design phase, we have development and testing phase, and then we have the implementation phase. Now it is at the implementation phase that we have 4 of them. We have direct changeover, parallel running, pilot running, and phase implementation. So now we have to construct. When we talk about construct, we're talking about the difference. Okay, we're talking about the difference between the pilot changeover and parallel running. So let me even open it so you can actually see it yourself. Look at it right here. Okay, so parallel running and the pilot changeover. So these are the two things we are talking about. Okay, so let's construct between them. So I'm going to start with the pilot changeover. Okay, so which is the pilot implementation or pilot running. So let me do that. The pilot changeover or running. Okay, so let's do that. Now, for the pilot changeover, this is where, number one, look at it right here, right? You will see that for the pilot, this method, the new system is introduced. When during implementation, it is introduced into just a separate branch. Okay, into one branch, and its performance is being assessed before it is introduced elsewhere. Okay, so that's one thing you need to understand for the pilot. So you can see that each, okay, a company with many branches. So we're going to relate it back to the question. So each branch is implemented separately. Okay, is implemented separately, right? And each branch changing over only uses the new system. Okay, so each branch changing over, right, uses the new system. That's one thing you need to understand. And in the pilot here is that cost is what being reduced. And why is it reduced? Because you see that if the new system fails, only one part is affected and the remaining part is what unaffected. So here you can see that costs are reduced, okay, as only one branch is affected, okay, at a time. Okay, and again, looking at this, we can see that if the new system fails, so if there's an error in the new system, only one branch is what affected, because again, the company has many branches and they want to implement a new system. So the manager is now planning. So if it's the pilot, they can just use one branch to test it. So you can see that number one, cost is reduced because it's only that branch that is affected. And again, if there's an error, so if there is an error, okay, in the new system, okay, in the new system, only one branch, okay, is affected. Okay, here you can see that the changeover is easy to manage. The changeover is easier to what? To manage. I've talked about so many points. So I'm just going to give these two to be others, because I want to talk more about the parallel. Okay, so here I have the parallel running. Now, in the parallel running, what are we talking about? We can see that both systems, both the old system and the new system, are running what? Concurrently. Okay, so you can see that both system, you see it here, look at it. You see that with this new method, the old and new systems are run side by side for a time before the new system takes over altogether. Okay, so both systems operate together until the old system is removed. Okay, and again, staff can be trained. Look at it. You see that here, staffs can be trained what? Gradually. Okay, staffs can be trained gradually in this method. Staffs can be trained, okay, on the whole system, what? Gradually. Now, another one is, it is more time consuming, right? It is more time what? Consuming. More time consuming to what? To enter data into what? Two systems. When we are constructing, we are talking about both of them. Okay, advantage, disadvantage, everything that makes both of them. Because look at it, the manager is planning to implement. So if we are to construct between them, we have to look at what is good about this, what is bad about this, what is good about this, what is bad about this. Okay, so this is very, very important. Another one is, if the new system fails, right here, if the new system fails, what happens? The old system is still available as what? Backup. So if the new system fails, the old system is there, right, as what? Backup. So here, if the new system fails, the old system is what? Available as a backup. As a backup. Is still, let's use the word, is still available as a backup. Okay, so this is very, very important. Of course, it's more expensive, as two set of staffs are what? Are needed. Okay, like I said, it's supposed to train, it's supposed to gradually train staffs. I've talked about this. It is more expensive, as extra staffs are needed to run both systems together. So this is, I think I've said 1 to 3, so this is others. So here again, you can see that it is more expensive. It is more expensive as what? Two sets, okay, of staffs are needed. It is also more expensive, as two sets of systems are also needed. Okay. The B part, when the system is implemented, technical documentation is produced. Okay. State 3 components that will be included in the technical documentation. Now, this is where you need to list everything, right? Everything that falls under document. No, we have in documentation now, right? This is also chapter 7. Okay, so this is also chapter 7, the system life cycle. And under this is documentation. So documentation, we have user documentation and technical documentation. Now, they're not asking you to, okay, what is included, the user is not included. So anything that falls under the technical falls under here as well. And you see it here. Look at it. So you just pick three. Pick three out of all of them here, right? So let me go with purpose of the system. Purpose of the system. I think purpose of the system falls on both of them. Okay. Yes. So we have system flow charts. Then we have program listing or programming languages. Let me use programming languages. Okay. So there are so many. You can just make your choice. One of the risks, question 12, one of the risks when entering a password into a system is shoulder shuffling. Explain what is meant by shoulder shuffling. Now, you will see this, right, in chapter 8 of the textbook. Yes, chapter 8 of the textbook. Safety and security. And you see this under security of data. Yes, security of data. Card fraud. Security of data. So you see chapter 8, safety and security. And you see it right here in security of data. Okay. Now, under the security of data, you see it under the security of data, you see it here under what? Data threats. Okay. You see it here under what? Data threats. So we have them as card fraud. Now, your shoulder shuffling is when using the card on any device that requires what? Keyboard entry. Okay. So this is very, very important. So it is a form of data where criminals steal personal information from a victim that they are using an ATM when paying for goods and services. So somebody is watching you keying the data, okay, and somebody is listening in when you're giving your credit or debit card over the phone or some other form of sophisticated what could include the use of tiny cameras that is placed near the ATM machines, watching you as you're typing in what? Your passcode. Okay. Okay, so they said explain what is meant by shoulder shuffling. So let's look at it. So the first one that we'll look here is somebody watching you. So so let's start with this. It's a form of data theft. A form of data theft where criminals steal personal information personal information from a victim. okay, when they are using an ATM, when using automated teller machine. Okay. Okay, so that's one. Now, this would include what we talk about, somebody watching you key in your data, somebody watching you, key in data, such as your PIN, okay, somebody listening, or eavesdropping, listening, listening in when you are given credit card. That's why you have to be very careful. Credit or debit card details. So when you are giving out, it's better you just type it and send it to the person over the phone. Okay, so you don't be in a public place and say, my credit card details is 1, 2. Trust me, some people will be on their phone, they'll be typing 1, 2. Okay, have you gotten it? Okay, you need the last digit. Okay, somebody asks you, say the last digit now. You will not know, okay, you are now in serious trouble. Okay, so please, you have to be very careful. Okay, you have to be very, very careful with that. Give 2 security improvement that could be made to reduce shoulder surfing. Okay, use biometrics. Okay, we're talking about, this is still chapter 8, safety and security. Okay, safety and security. So use biometrics. Okay, you can also use contactless card. Okay, use contactless card. They say give, command word give, use contactless card. This has its disadvantages, but it would help to reduce shoulder surfing. Okay, cover the keypad when you're entering password. This for others. If you're using an ATM, please cover. For others, cover the keypad when entering the password or PIN. Okay. Okay, so please, it's very important. It's very important. Okay. Question 13. When a person changes their password, they are asked to verify that it has been entered correctly by re-entering the password. Okay, when a person changes their password, they are asked to verify that it has been entered correctly by entering the password. State what this type of verification is called. Now, see, this is chapter 15, straight from chapter 15, and this is proofing. we have what we call verification, right? So during verification, we have what we call visual check, visual verification, and double data entry. So take this type of verification, okay? So when somebody is entering, again, is called a double data what? Entry. Okay, so this is very important, okay? And you will see it here because I like showing my learners where you see all this right here. Yes, I've read the textbook from chapter 1 to 21. You're welcome. And that is why when I'm teaching paper 1, I'm always excited because I'm teaching it from a point of in-depth understanding. And when I teach you, you have no choice but to what? Understand. Okay. So visual verification and double data, you can see that, right? So data is entered into a two system twice. Two sets of data are then compared by the computer see there's a difference. Now you can see example here. Example is where you're asked on the website to create a new password. You must enter the password twice. See that? Good. B, the keyboard used to enter the password is an input device. Explain the difference between input and output device. Okay, so now you also see this in chapter 1 between the difference, right? When we talk about the input and output, you also see that in chapter 1, but mainly this is chapter 2. Okay, this is more or less chapter 2, but between the input and output device, you see it in chapter 1. Let me show you. So you need to know when to talk about chapter 1 and when to talk about chapter 2. So you see it here. Good. No, sorry, should be somewhere here. Nope, go up. Yes. Come and see it. Give an yeah, some within this place. Yes, good. Good, yeah. Okay. So you see input and output device, and you will see the difference here. Difference was stated here. So this is chapter 1, not chapter 2. This question is chapter 1. Okay, good. Okay, so I know but most people are going to say, no, chapter 1. Okay, so that's why you're here to learn. That's why you're in Ajiro Tech. So this is chapter 1, types and components, okay, of computer system. Okay, so now let's look at the difference between them. Let's look at them. Now you see that here, right? An input device, any hardware device that allows a user, okay, to enter data or instructions into a computer directly. Okay, so that's the first one. An input device is any device that allows users to enter they're both hardware device, so there's no need putting hardware device because they're both hardware device, right? Allow user to enter data into a computer directly. Into a computer directly. Why an output device takes the output data from a computer takes information okay, and puts it into what? Human readable format. Okay. Now another one is an input device can send data to another device. One here, an input device can send data to another device. Why an output device is capable of receiving data from another device. Is capable of receiving data from another device. The next one is an input device receives command from its user and data to process. Receives command an input device receives command from its users, okay, and data to process. Why output device are needed by a computer so it can share results. Are needed by a computer so that it can share results, okay, office processing with a human. Office processing with a human. Okay, so one more. So we can see that an input device is controlled, okay? An input device is controlled by the user, okay? Why output device is controlled by the computer. State the direct data entry that is used to read the following types of computer. Now, this is now chapter 2. Okay, so this is input and output devices. And under this, we have what we call, you see it as the direct data entry. Direct data what? Entry, DDE, devices. So this right here, that is used to read the following types of data. So we use this is what we call a QR code, and I will show you from the textbook. We call it a quick response code. Look at it right here. I like showing my learners what they can see. You see? All right. I hope we're having fun in this class. Yeah, it's not just a past paper, it's really like a class, right? So I really hope we're having fun here. Okay, so you see it here, these card readers. OCR, yes, this is it right here. So we call it a quick response code. Okay, we can call it a reader or a scanner. Can you see that? Yes. So we call it a quick response what? Reader. Okay, so let me quick response was scanner or reader, whichever one you want to write is fine. Okay, type of data. So we use the quick response or what you call your QR, right? Just put here in quotes your QR scanner. The next one is your barcode scanners. You see it right here, your barcode readers, right? So we use your barcode readers. Barcode readers. Okay, the barcode reader. What else? Now, this is what we call right here. This right here is magnetic stripe. Let me show you. So you see the difference. And that black thing there shows the difference. Look at it here. Can you see this? Look at it here. If you look at here, you see the difference. So this is what your magnetic what? Stripe reader. Okay? Magnetic stripe. Okay? Then the next one, this right here is this. Look at it right here. Can you see that? We call it what? An RFID tag. Your radio frequency what? Identification tag. Can you see the difference? Can you see that? Good. Right? So we call them radio frequency identification what? Reader. Your RFID, which is what? Radio frequency. So please write it in full. Frequency identification. The ID means identification. Then we have what? Reader. So, yes. Any more? Okay. Question 14. State 3 advantages of using solid state devices rather than magnetic storage devices. Okay. So now we're going to see this in chapter 3. Okay. So we'll see this here in chapter 3, storage devices. Storage devices. Right here. And media. Okay. Storage devices. And what? Media. So let's look at the advantages rather than magnetic. Now, for solid state, it is what? It is for magnetic. Right? When we talk about magnetic, we're talking about your HDD as well, your magnetic tape. For your solid state, magnetic are affected by magnetic fields. But for solid state, they are not affected by magnetic fields. Now, let's look at this. Advantages of solid state. Look at it. You see it right here. Advantages of what? This. Okay, so here is they are more robust, not affected okay, by magnetic field. They have what we call, look at it, faster data access time. Okay, they also have a faster data transfer what speed. Okay, so they have a faster data transfer time and faster data access time. So this is very important. And when we talk about this, I think there's a hint here. I want to explain this as well, because good. When we talk about data transfer rate, it is the rate at which data can be sent from a storage device to a computer. When I talk about data transfer rate, is that rate from which the data can be sent from one storage device to a computer. While a data access time is the time it takes to locate specific data on the storage media. Do you understand? So when I talk about it has a faster data transfer time, it's simply saying that it is faster from transferring data from that storage to the computer, and it also has a faster data access time, where if that it takes is faster in locating specific data on that storage what media. I hope that makes sense. Okay, so I'm going to work with this. So here you have faster data transfer speed, or rate. Then you have faster data access time. Okay, you can see that it has a lower power consumption, have a lower power consumption. Now for others, you see that they have no moving parts, have no moving part, okay, and they are very thin. And that's why we now have slim computers, okay. And that makes them have a faster read and write speed, okay, a faster read and write speed. They don't need to get up to speed before they work properly, okay. They are considerably what lighter, and they are more robust, okay. They are more reliable, okay. So very important. Question 15. Explain why data protection legislation is required. And you will see this in chapter 8, safety and security, okay. And you see this in e-safety, okay. So this one we talk about is the Data Protection Act. So when we talk about the data protection, right, it is right there. This legislation is designed to protect individuals and to protect incorrect or inaccurate data being stored. And this is why is important, why data protection legislation is required. Number one, it protects what? Data properties. It protects what? Personal data. Now look at it. These are data protections. Our data must be fairly and lawfully processed, must be accurate, must be adequate, relevant, must be processed according to subject matter, must be kept secure. So this helps to protect the right of the individual about whom data is what? Obtained. So it helps to protect what? Personal data. Protect what? Protects what? Personal what? Data. The next one is that it helps to prevent, it helps, and you see this here, that data must not be transferred to another country unless they have what? Adequate protection. So the whole idea is that it helps to prevent, right, personal data, being misused, okay, by what? Third parties, okay. And also, it also protects the right of what? The data subjects. Look at it right here, right? You see it here, right? And they are set up to protect the right of what? Individual of whom data is what? Obtained. So it helps to what? Protects the what? The right of individuals. Protects, okay, the right of what? The data subject. Okay. And also, it provides best practices. Let's use that word. Practice rules for organization to what? To follow on how to use personal what? Data. Okay. So now we have this. And these are the acts. We call them data protection what? Act that organizations have to follow while they are in possession of your what? Data. Hope that makes sense. Okay. In many countries, failure to abide by this simple rule by anyone who holds data about individuals can lead to a heavy fine or even imprisonment. And that's why you see all these social medias, they are under strict data protection act. Okay. So please, this is very, very important. I think this is 4 marks. Okay. So this brings us to the end of this paper. Thank you very much. Hope you have learned a lot. Please share this with your friends, and I will see you in the next one.